Hey guys, Ghostbusters! So a good while back, I did a video talking about the 10 toys that absolutely dominated my childhood. They were like the big toys. Ninja Turtles was on that list, Legos was on that list, Star Wars was on that list, Star Trek was on that list, Ghostbusters was on that list. And specifically, these toys, or kind of these toys, these are the Kenner Ghostbusters, I'm going to call them re-release. These are the retro, the real Ghostbusters toys that I grew up with, re-released back onto the market just like my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle toys that Playmates did. If I'm not mistaken, this is Kenner. Let me double check that right here. This is Hasbro. Interesting. Is there some reason my mind is going to Kenner? Did Kenner do the original run of these? That's interesting. I should look that up. In fact, if you guys know, let me know, because for some reason that was really heavy in my mind when I was picking these up. Now I know Kenner did Star Wars. Playmates did Star Trek. Playmates also did my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. For some reason, I kept thinking that Kenner did these Ghostbusters. Well, Hasbro is on their label now, and that's just fine, to be honest, because what really mattered to me was that I went to a store. Store's called Mega Replay. It's got a couple of different locations in my area. I don't know if it's just in this area or if it's spanned across and it's in different states and things like that. I really don't know. But this store is one of those places where you like trade in games and collectibles and things of that nature. And then, of course, they sell them third hand, yada yada. Well, I walked in and I saw all 4 Ghostbusters and I said, oh man, that's them. That's the toys I grew up with. That is cool. And then I waited a little while and I said, but right now there's a lot of other stuff and I already have the set of Ghostbusters that I really, really like the Ghostbusters that really speak to me. Do I really need them? And I left. Well, that ate at me all day. I mean, it did. It ate at me the rest of the night that I left them there. I went to work the next morning. It ate at me the entire time I was at work. I even talked about it on my Discord with my friends from Fandom Night. And the more it ate at me, the more it kind of felt like, look, I went out of my way to get the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle toys of my childhood. I just felt like those were important. The whole idea of my collection at large is that it is a museum to me. It says something about me. It's a collection that speaks to all the things I love for all different kinds of reasons and is a living representation, a museum to myself that I can dive into on any given day, no matter how hard my life happens to be taking at the time, whether I'm on ridiculous overtime or just having troubles in general. I can come in this room, sit down, look at this wall, and go, that's cool. It's that simple. It all speaks to me. And that was part of the reason I bought the original Playmates Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles when they re-released. It spoke to me. It was an absolute memory of my childhood. And here I was with a chance to get all 4 Ghostbusters. And I left. Well, it ate at me, and ate at me, and ate at me. And finally, I said, I need them. I got off of work and I said, tonight I'm going to go out to eat with my wife. I'm going to make another stop by Mega. And maybe, just maybe, I'm lucky and they're all 4 still there. Well, it turns out I was super lucky, because not only did I get there and all 4 of them were there, but a Slimer had been added to that collection, and every single one of them was priced at $12.99, $13. Sounds like a big jump or big drop, but a couple of these, when I looked them up, especially that they're all still in their package, when I looked them up, some of them sold for like $11.99, where others sold for $15 or $16. So really across the board, I cut pretty even, and I got a really good honest deal on these. And I almost completed the entire collection. I'm missing 2 pieces from what I would care about. And you know what? That was enough. It got me. I put my money down. I bought it. I said, oh man, that's like a straight up sign. These toys were so big to me when I was growing up. I loved the Ghostbusters. I loved the first movie. I loved the second movie. And I genuinely loved the second movie. I'm not one of those, and it's not just like I was a kid. I grew up with that movie. I still watch the second movie today. I think it's an honest to God good movie. I do. I don't see the same problems other people see with it. Yes, they'd already introduced the characters. Yes, it repeated certain tropes. Yes, maybe it's not as strong as the first, but as a standalone Ghostbusters adventure with the original team, that movie is fantastic. It is. It's got a cool villain. It's got the Ghostbusters I want. It's dealing with a situation that's pretty solid, and it feels true to character. Unlike moving forward into the present day, where we've done Ghostbuster movie after Ghostbuster movie, attempting to recapture that magic, and they can't quite do it. Do I like the newest Ghostbuster movie? Yes, I do. The newest Ghostbuster movie feels close enough while carrying on that I did enjoy it, and I'm interested to see what else they'll do with it. Does it add up or even come close to beating the first 2 movies? No, not at all. Does that reboot movie? No. 0 interest at all in the reboot movie. I did not buy it. I did watch it. I took myself, my wife, and my daughter to go see the 3rd Ghostbusters movie. That's what I'm going to call it, the 3rd Ghostbusters movie. In fact, I would tell you that that reboot movie, it's bad enough that I'm going to tell you that I didn't buy it. I bought Ghostbusters Afterlife, is that what it's called? And I also bought the entire series of this, because I watched this cartoon like crazy. I really, really like that cartoon. But as an adult, and actually even as a kid, I liked the Ghostbusters. I was less of a fan of Slimer, and as he took over the show, I lost interest and I moved on to other shows, especially when it started becoming his show. That's when I took a step back, and the Ghostbusters for me became a cool memory, and toys. I played with the toys at that point. This show was no longer what I wanted it to be. Turned into a Looney Tunes, it was no longer for me. This show was absolutely brilliant in the way that it was able to play serious and comedic at the same time. Episodes that were key on point, that would expand the actual history and idea and characterization behind the Ghostbusters. Episodes that were terrifying, episodes that were goofy, episodes that were fun. All interlaced into the same idea that felt genuine to what they attempted to do with the movies, toned down just enough that it still fit the original heart and was everything I wanted it to be. And I loved these things, and I loved this show, and I loved those movies, and of course, I had to put it on my shelf. So let's check these out. And here they are. These are the Ghostbusters of my childhood, or as close as you could get to them Now, just like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles that were re-released for Playmates, there are subtle differences, just like in the Star Wars toys, the retro Star Wars toys that are being released. There are subtle differences, and that's not a problem. I would tell you that more than likely, looking at these, I feel like the paint is a little bit better than I tend to remember on the old ones. And some of the build quality might be of a higher caliber, and I seem to recall him being a slightly different shade of green, but that could be a nostalgia factory, because it has been years since I held one of these in my hand. I mean, that's just the way that it is. Every single one of these comes with their own ghost, the Proton Pack, the Ghostbuster, and they're all on those really cool retro cards. The back of each one shows you a cell here, a cross cell of all the things that you could get in this current wave, which is, of course, Peter Venkman, Ray Stantz, Egon Spangler, Winston Zeddemore, the Green Ghost, which is Slimer. But if we're going to be fair, it didn't really have a name in the movies, so maybe calling it the Green Ghost is fine for what it is. And the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Now, I was not able to find him. He was not at the store. But I was able to go online and track him down, as well as another thing that I'd like to have in order to really make this complete. But for what it's worth, there they are. The Ghostbusters. Awesome. Each one is the same. You don't get anything special for having necessarily bought Winston as opposed to necessarily bought Ray as opposed to Egon or anything like that. The cross cells are all the same across the back. Let's open these guys up and check them out. All right, here we go. Check it out. The Ghostbusters. Now, I kept my favorite Ghostbuster off the table so that we could talk about the way that these guys are set up in general. You have the Proton Pack, which is right here, and it's fine. It's exactly what it's supposed to be. It represents exactly what you would have seen in the cartoon show and so on. There's a rope that connects it here, the gun, and on their backs, this isn't just a hole, there's a little bit of a different kind of idea here. There's the hole and the little two divots right there, so that right here, there's the little plug and the two divots, and you line that up, and that guarantees that once it's on his back and it's pushed into place, it doesn't wobble around that much, and it really stays in place. It helps to maintain the illusion and keep it on his back exactly where you want it to be. Then they hold the guns like this, and you turn it, and that's what it was. It was that simple back when I was a kid. That's all I needed, and I was like, I'm a Ghostbuster. Look, I don't know if this is on purpose, but I noticed that Egon's Ray seems to be a different color. It seems to be an orangish color, and then this seems to be the brightest of yellow. This is a little, maybe these are about the same. I don't know. His might be the most yellow. This is really tough for me because as I move my head, some of it kind of seems to change colors. I am red-green deficient. I've talked about this before, so I'm not 100% sure if maybe this is an illusion, and some of these might be a greenish-yellow color, and that's messing with my eyes. But each and every Ghostbuster came with their pack, and each and every Ghostbuster came with these rays, the guns and everything. Ray seems to have trouble holding his. I don't know if I just got kind of a bad Ray or what, but I'm trying here. I kind of got it on there. You see, everybody else holds it easy. He's having a tough time, and I'm not 100% sure why. The paint job on these guys is okay at best, but this was about the standard of the time. It looked about like this. Ray had some good weight to him. There was very little articulation on old figures. I mean, we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 point. That's it. And like I said, my Ray doesn't seem to want to hold his gun. I can't figure out why. My all-time favorite character was and still is to this day Egon, so that's really cool. I like that each one had a different color jumpsuit, and cartoon-wise, that was really solid. It was a good idea. It helped to create a differentiality between the Ghostbusters right off the bat, and there's even an episode in that old series that explains why they got new uniforms in general, which is pretty cool because there are Ghostbusters. I really, truly enjoyed that. I thought that was a really cool episode. One of the best of the entire series. Maybe I'll mess with his gun a little bit and try to get it on there better. I don't know. Each one of them came with a ghost, which you see over here, and they're fine for what they are. They're just little wacky creature things. Here's this one right here. It's just a weird, ugly thing. Each and every one of them is made from kind of like a thick, like a just not so much translucent, but like, you know what I'm talking about? The kind of plastic. It's like just a really harsh color, so it kind of creates the effect of being like a ghost, like a thing. It's not like them. They are painted different. You could tell the difference immediately between your characters and the ghosts in general. And every single one of them is unique in general in terms of being ghosts. Like this little guy right here that's like, rah, and he's got his hands up and everything. And this dude right here, which is really kind of cool, he's coming at you and he's gonna eat you or whatever. I don't know, he's just goofy. Look at him, he's cool. And then of course I did get Slimer because he was there. Or the Green Ghost, which I actually kind of like that. If we don't have to call him Slimer, and I know that he's Slimer now, especially now, this is just the way it is. He is Slimer. But back in the original movies, he didn't really have a name. It wasn't until that show that, as far as I'm aware, they gave him the name. They started calling him Slimer. In the movie, I never remember an actual name being given to him, but that's fine. Slimer came with food, which that's fine, I guess. It serves no real purpose. He can't really eat it, and it's not like he can throw it at anybody, and he can't hold the food or anything. It's just like there, which is fine, but completely and utterly pointless. Especially now, where I sit today, where these are just really cool and they're just going to go on the shelf, and that's the whole reason I got them, was to go up there with my really cool Ghostbusters. So I bought the Ghostbusters from the Plasma series. If you want to check that video out, I go over all 4 of them and I talk about them. And there you go. I'll have the annotation up there. You can check that out. So I already went over those Ghostbusters, and I think those came out fantastic. And now I have the Ghostbusters that I grew up with to go up on the shelf with them, and that is really, really cool. Like, it is kind of honestly exciting to see these things again. It was a way simpler time in toys, you know? It was way simpler. Every time I dive into the retro side of toys and buy something from my childhood, I have to look honestly at what it is. Each of them have the Ghostbuster logo on one arm. The paint is just good enough to kind of give you the idea, like, it's fine, right? But, like, realistically, when I look at this guy, his face, I can tell who he is. But what I'm telling you is from a retro aspect, from the designs of what they had back then, what we grew up with. They're incredibly basic. And I see this all the time, where people go, toys were so much better when I was a kid. Really? Are you sure about that? Look, your nostalgia aside, liking what you like, and just like I said, these are incredibly important to me. Putting these on my shelf is going to be an absolute. It's just like when I added the Turtles. I added the Turtles to my shelf and was just absolutely overwhelmed in my own nostalgia. Then, I lost Michelangelo during the move. When I moved into this house, I lost Michelangelo. I have no idea how. I don't know where he went. I could not find him. He was gone. And I was legit heartbroken. Because not having the 4, not having those toys from my childhood to go on the shelf to represent that part of myself over the years, I had to find another. And I started looking for another. And they were like not in the stores all of a sudden. They were gone. And then Walmart brought them back and I was like, oh. And I rushed out to buy one. I just simply couldn't find them for a while. And I was honestly worried. I was ready to pay at a convention just to get him back on my shelf. And I was ready to pay that secondary market price just to have him again. But if I take those Ninja Turtles or these Ghostbusters and try to hold them up to the quality that I see in like the Plasma series or TMNT Ultimates, the Super 7 toys, not even close. Not even close. Now it's true that toys, they have a lot more issues now, and I tell you that they break easier. Do I believe that they're made less quality? No. I think that what's going on in toys in general in that aspect is that the more complicated a toy gets, the more engineering that it takes, the more posability that it has, the more articulation, the more detail, the more things can go wrong. Case in point, Winston has gray, the pack is all blue, then the little thing, it has one action feature and that's it. Ray has a hand to hold something, but doesn't come with an accessory, so he can't hold a thing anyway. None of them came with a trap, so technically you can't catch these ghosts anyhow. None of them came with a PKE meter, so you can't find the ghosts if you were trying to play like super serious. You got this, which is a cool effect and everything, but like, you get what I'm saying? And his face is just good enough for you to say, yeah, that's Winston from the cartoon, I think. But if you were to hold this up to the cartoon directly, put the cartoon up and then put him up and look, you'd probably be like, really, that's just a black dude. Yeah. And it's true for the others as well. Egon probably has the best shot because he's super lean, his glasses and his hair really make him stand out. But Ray, in all honesty, if I'm not mistaken, if I held him up, this guy honestly looks more like the dad in X-Men, the 90s series, the dad, Jubilee's adopted father. That's who he honestly looks like to me, rather than Ray. And maybe, I mean, that's just... But look, toys were simpler. They were simpler and they relied a lot more on your imagination to care about them. Such as when Kenner did Star Wars and the lightsabers, you get the idea, like with Luke, he had the wrong one, but nobody cared. We were kids. And the parents weren't invested in the material like we are today. Today, parents are invested in the material. It's true. And parents are a little more, how do I put this? Even parents that don't necessarily care are still a little more invested in the material. And when they go to the store and they buy an action figure for their kid says, I want this, right? You tend to know a little more about it or have a little more judgment as to that kind of looks really cheap. Like, we're probably going to take that home, it's going to break. It's not the same buying environment that it used to be. It has changed, and it has changed quite a bit. And the more we add to it, the easier it is for these things to break. And I really think that a big part of the nostalgia of things like owning these Ghostbusters, that's what sells them. Because these right here cannot compete with what I've seen from the Plasma series. The Plasma series that was released by Hasbro, that line of Ghostbusters is fantastic. And so I have no choice but to constantly look at people that go, toys were better when I was a kid. I don't think they were. Not really. I mean, I just don't think so. And this is true for so many things. Like, I collect Gunpla, and I can tell you that from making the RX-78 RX-78-2 over and over and over again over the years, it is a much better build now than it was when I first built him all those years ago. It's better. It's the same toy, way better. Way better. Those Ghostbusters are better. The Super 7 Ninja Turtles are better engineering-wise, posability-wise, detail-wise, color-wise. I just see it that way. But that doesn't mean these aren't cool. Because for us, for the people that lived this is what we grew up with. This is what captured our imagination and helped us play Ghostbusters. I mean, we did, man. I remember my friend had the firehouse, and I used to be so jealous of that firehouse, man. I was. I only had like 2 Ghostbusters. I had a couple of Egons. I think I had a Peter. And I had a couple of ghosts. I had like that cop where his face flipped down, then he was like a skeleton man and different things like that. And I think I had that toilet. The toilet that was a monster. I may have had Slimer. I cannot honestly remember 100%. But like, oh, I do remember definitely having the ones where you push their legs in and their eyes are like, oh my God, that kind of like the scared face guys. I remember I had a couple of them. I had some of these toys. I grew up with these toys. Having these toys is a nostalgic mega boost. Putting these on the shelf is going to be fantastic. And every time I look at them, I'm going to be overwhelmed with just how awesome these were. But they were products of their time. I love these things. These are going on the shelf. This is an awesome find, and I'll have another Ghostbusters video coming up because Ghostbusters is going to be the topic of the very first collection goals video. Anyways, guys, that's enough. Added the original Ghostbusters to the shelf. I'm gonna get out of here.